friend of the show. Let's bring in Bryce Eldridge. Let's welcome in Lee Jung-hoo from Rocky Mountain, North Carolina. He wears number 65, Landon Root.
Well, I appreciate it, Bill. I always enjoy talking to you.
Let's welcome in Wade Boggs. Let's bring in Will the Thrill. He's the ace of the staff. Let's welcome in Logan Webb. Logan, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing good. Good to be on here.
Welcome to Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Giants sweep the LA Dodgers.
Sponsored by Lunardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply the best. Right here on your exclusive home of the San Francisco Giants. KNBR, the sports leader.
1-1 pitch. There's a fly ball in the left. That's falling, and diving to make the catch. Coming on in left field, York, the Archbishop Mitty alum from San Jose, and the game is over. The Giants get a couple.
Welcome into the Extra Inning post-game show on a Saturday evening with Bill Laskey. The day started with a surprise, Patrick Bailey getting traded to the Cleveland Guardians. And I think it was a surprise to most Giants fans. Of course, I did the warm-up show, and the phone calls were coming in, and most of the fans liked the trade. They thought that it was time to move on with Patrick Bailey, all defense, no offense, and give the kids, Susac and Rodriguez, an opportunity to get behind the plate and catch. Offense was a number one priority, Buster Posey said when he talked about the move of Patrick Bailey to the Cleveland Guardians. And today, well, it just didn't go that well for the San Francisco Giants. Landon Root and Braxton Ashcroft had a nice pitching duel doing for 4 innings. But the problem was Landon Root was running out of pitches. And when you look at his line, he threw 4 innings. He threw 94 pitches, 60 for strikes. But one stat here that people don't realize, there was 24 foul balls hit off of it. 24 foul balls, which really opened up that 94 pitch count. As he got into the 5th inning, an infield hit by Joey Bart, Tony Vitello went to the bullpen. And the bullpen just was not good tonight. Baruki and Walker. They went an inning and a third, giving up 5 hits, 3 earned runs. Matt Gage came in, put the fire out, and then Brubaker came in, 2/3 of an inning, 3 earned runs. Santos came in, and it just was an ugly, ugly 7th inning when the Pittsburgh Pirates scored 6 runs on 7 hits. And the error by Willie Adames just fueled that fire for the Pittsburgh Pirates as the Pirates scored 13 runs on 20 hits tonight. The Giants only had 1 run going into the bottom of the 9th, and that was Bryce Eldridge, who hit his first home run in a major league season this year and hit it pretty good. First pitch fastball by Ashcroft, and he hit it off the sidewalk, and it bounced into Willie McCovey water. But you know what? It was a nice home run by him. 365 feet, a 96-mile-an-hour fastball in on his hands. But before that, Ashcroft was dealing. He had retired 10 in a row. The first inning, Arise gets a base hit, Ramos gets a base hit, and we thought there was a rally. And Devers hits into a 4-6-3 double play. And Ashcroft was going from there on. 10 up, 10 down before Bryce Eldridge hit his home run. Ashcroft really was throwing good tonight. A really hard slider, 92 to 90, a fastball that reached up to 97, curveball, and a sinker. And he really had good movement on the pitches. 18 first pitch strikes out of 26. The kid can throw, no question there. 26 years old, gets his second win on the season. Coming into the game, 41 2/3 innings pitched, only gave up 31 hits. Today he gave up 6. And the Giants just couldn't muster anything off of him. And then the bullpen came in, and of course the 9th inning turned ugly with walks and a hit by pitch by Koss, who in the time is okay. The post-game report said he's okay. The helmet was cracked, and it was just an ugly scene in that 9th inning as Christian Koss ended up throwing 1 inning and giving up 3 earned runs. So it was just an ugly game, especially after a good game yesterday when the San Francisco Giants scored 5 runs on 12 hits. Today they just couldn't muster any kind of offense, and they have one more game tomorrow, a 1:05 start. And this could be the series. Win the series tomorrow and then move on to a 10-game road trip And this is going to be a tough one. National League West, of course, 4 against the Dodgers, 3 against the Athletics, and then 3 against Arizona before they come back home on Memorial Day weekend. 415-808-KNBR. A lot of calls this morning on the warm-up show. Love to hear what your thoughts are on the trade by Patrick Bailey. As this game's a flush, we don't even want to get into it. An ugly game by the San Francisco Giants. They had 2 other games in April 3rd. They lost to the New York Mets 10-3, and on the same homestand on May 5th, they lost to the San Diego Padres 10-5. But this was the worst loss for the San Francisco Giants in the 2026 season. 415-808-KNBR. Let's get on some calls. Let's go to Mill Valley and talk to Joe. Joe, you're on a late-night extra inning post-game show. Bailey gets traded. What did you think this morning?
Hey, Bill, thanks. It's just a pleasure to talk to you. You do a great job. I listen all the time, and I was motivated particularly to call about the trade. And
Great.
If I was talking to Buster Posey, I'd ask him this question, and that is, did anybody ever tell you about a giant catcher named Wesley Noreen Westrom, known to most fans as Wes Westrom, who was a catcher for the Giants from 1947 to 57, and he was known as a great defensive catcher. He was called the top catcher defensively of his era in his handling of pitchers, his skill with knuckleball pitchers who were, at that time used a lot of that. He caught over 50% of base stealers over 6 years of his 11-year career. He was a 2-time All-Star because of his defense. And in 1950, Wes Westrom had a .999 fielding percentage, which was a record until 1997. So he's the real deal. Now, he was only a .217 career hitter. Just prior to the 1954 season, the Giants thought they had a pretty good team. They had a center fielder. His name was, we know him, Willie Mays. But a key position, no matter what year of baseball we talk about, is the catcher, especially with that pitching staff the Giants had. And
well,
so
let me just throw something at you, Joe. Let me just throw something at you, Joe. When you're looking at the lineup of this team that he played on, how were the hitters hitting at that time? Did they have a pretty good batting average, team batting average? Were they winning?
It was a good team, but remember the Giants had, although the Giants in 51 obviously had their year, but in 52 and 53 they were not world beaters. And so the 54 really was a surprise. In fact, the Giants were underdog to the Cleveland Indians, and it was a shock to the baseball world that the Giants could not only beat the Indians, but they beat them the 4 straight. So this was not a powerhouse team of Ruth Garrick.
So if you're comparing that team and that era to what Buster Posey just did with Patrick Bailey, are you saying the comparisons, they should have kept Patrick Bailey? Is that kind of what you're hinting here about?
Well, I thought an interesting angle was was in this case they kept. In this case, they knew they had a catcher who was not a hitter,
right?
But he was known as a really strong catcher. He was, even back to the writers who covered at the time, they referred to him as the anchor of the 54 team. This is a team.
Oh, I agree. There's no doubt about it. In the 50s and the 60s, that's what they had. They had some defensive players that were more liability as offense, but they were more a positive on defense, and that's kind of what you're influencing here. And with the Patrick Bailey news that came out today, I just think that Buster Posey wanted to shake it up because he's got 2 young catchers, Susac and Rodriguez, that he feels they can build off of. Patrick Bailey, 224 lifetime and 3.5 years of playing with the Giants. This year just really wasn't making any kind of mark with the offense. And I think there was an opportunity watching some of the press conference from the Guardians. They said they were looking for Patrick Bailey years ago. They tried to make a trade effort. They really like his defense. They're not worried about his offense as much. So it works both ways. I think Buster Posey made the move to try to influence more offense in the catching position. And with what you're saying, it doesn't sound like they really needed him on the offense because they had a pretty good damn lineup that were hitting.
I think because of the points you make, as always, Bill, are excellent, and then I appreciate that. But I would say is that we all know going into the season, I mean, unless somebody was just a fantasy person, that the Giants were of 500. Maybe if a couple of things really went right, no injuries or a few things, they get a little bit over 500, but they were going really nowhere this year, and so they were still 2 or 3 years away. They have some pretty good young players. We're still waiting for those guys to come up. We finally got Eldridge. We'll see what happens there. But the Giants are still 2 years, maybe 3 years away. I'm thinking that that Bailey could very well be, a really strong Western type. If I can see that. And when they're ready to compete, they're not really ready right now. And West Western.
It's interesting. It really is interesting how you're comparing it, Joe. It really is, because defense is part of the game. No question, and 2 gold gloves by Patrick Bailey. I just really feel Buster Posey said, hey, it's time to get some offense behind the plate. He really didn't have anything with Eric Haas. He really didn't have anything. Susak did really well. He injured his elbow. He'll be back. And I think the presence of Jesus Rodriguez opened his eyes and a possibility of another catcher that could hit. The kid's 5 for 11. He definitely puts the ball in play, and there had to have been a dead zone here. I think it really came down to Buster saying, hey, if I can get something moving here, they pick up another first-round draft pick to bolster the minor leagues. They pick up a double-A pitcher, another left-hander. He made the move, and I think what happened there was he wants to make this team better. 6-game losing streak on the road trip, he was not a happy guy. He brought up Eldridge. He brought up Rodriguez, and we might see a couple more moves coming down. But, Joe, I think the best move he did was move Patrick Bailey and open up some opportunities for younger guys. I don't know how your story ends with that catcher. Did he end up getting sent down, or did he end up finishing up his career as a all-defensive catcher and no hit?
Sure. Again, your points are great. Time will tell. That's in baseball. Time will always tell. If I can leave you with just one, it's going to be very brief. This is a great a trivia, but it ties in to Bailey, and that's very quickly. And you're kind enough to give me the time, and that is this. So we know how Bailey did come up with some incredible big hits. They're legendary, and they'll be legendary even after he's long gone. Well,
no doubt.
Well, Westrom had that in him too. That's why I was taking Bill to compare the two. And here's my example. It's going to be very quick for you. So on August 15th of 1951, the Giants were 11 games out at that time against the Dodgers. They were playing the Dodgers. In the 8th inning, the score was 1-1. Up came Wes Westrom, light hitting, but he hit a 2-run homer, giving the Giants a 3-1 win. And that spurred the Giants on, as you know, what happened in 51. Everybody listening knows what happened in 51 with Bobby Thompson and all. What I like about that story best is that the pitcher who threw the pitch that Westrom lit the light that led the Giants to the World Series, the pitcher was Ralph Branca.
That's a great one. That's a good ending right there, Joe. I'll leave you with that one. That's a good one. But you know what? As you just said, Patrick Bailey had some great hits, home runs, some great memories. We'll never forget Patrick Bailey doing that to the Dodgers many times. But, Joe, thanks again for the call. A good reference. I think I like it. Let's go to Nick. He's in Lincoln. Nick, you're on the Extra Inning postgame show on a Saturday night. How are you?
I'm kind of frustrated at the moment. I'm going to be honest.
All right. Tell me what you think, Nick.
It's just frustrating. Watching this team, we have so much potential. We got Willie Adames just letting the ball go. I don't even know what that was. Fans were booing him afterwards. I just don't know what's wrong with this team. We got bullpen changes where we don't know who's coming in the game, and it's just frustrating to watch at this point. I've watched this team for too long, and I'm going to keep watching every game, but it just seems to get worse every game. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I tell you what, Nick, I think what's frustrating is you see a good game like yesterday. You know, everything went right. They get 5 runs, 12 hits, great defense, a home run by Devers, some clutch hitting. Arise gets a nice base hit to add the runs in the 7th inning, and they just couldn't muster anything. They got 2 hits in the 1st inning, and Ashcroft just blew them away, 10 up, 10 down before Eldridge hits the home run. There was no consistency, and I think that's what Giants fans are more frustrated about than looking at this team. I would love to see a run here. I would love to see them win 2 or 3 games, maybe 4 or 5 games in a row. But it starts from that 1st inning and it ends in that 9th inning. And it's just lackluster play, some mental mistakes by the outfield, the ball in the lights for Ramos. Just different things just didn't add up today. Hey, the Pirates put the pedal to the metal. They're not going to stop scoring. This team's pretty good. They're 22-18. And I think what you're frustrated about is what most Giants fans are frustrated. We just can't keep it consistent. No hitting is consistent. No pitching is consistent. And the bullpen today flushed it. And they've been pretty good. But today's game, when you're looking at 13-3, is embarrassing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just don't get what's the deal with Ryan Walker. I mean, game after game, he comes in, close game, maybe up or down by 1 or 2 runs, and then he comes in and just blows it wide open. And it's been years of having him on the roster. Like, why do we just keep bringing him in these close spots? I don't know.
There might be a shakeup in that bullpen. Baruki's the same way, Nick. Baruki has not pitched consistent. Of course, he's from the left-hand side. Ryan Walker, now they're trying to find a slot where he can come in at. He just gave it up again today. In his last 4 outings, he's given up 7 earned runs. So you got to look at some of the things going on in that bullpen, and maybe Buster Posey might shake this up again before they hit this 10-game road trip. We'll find out. Nick got 1 game tomorrow on Mother's Day, and let's hope the Giants can pull that win out to win a series here before they hit the road. Let's go to Dino. He's in Pacheco. Dino, a tough game today, losing 13-3. I really want to ask you, how do you like the Patrick Bailey trade?
Bill, I talked to you today already about that Patrick Bailey trade, and you know what? If Buster's listening, I'm proud of that move. Okay, I'm proud of that move. That was a great move. Okay, it's in the big picture. I've got to tell you, Bill, because you played the big leagues. I almost did, but an injury cost me. Okay, and you played with some of my friends actually. But anyway, that I grew up with. But because we're about the same age too. But anyway, I told you that earlier. But I want to make a point, Bill, that you know. Okay, in the big picture of a major, especially obviously in baseball, with 1 million games in a season, basically. I mean, it seems like it. I mean, compared to any other sport, they're gonna even the Giants, as bad as their offense is, they're gonna score 10 runs sometimes here and there, once in a while here and there. But in the big picture, the pitching's going to get blown out like they did today here and there. But in the big picture right now, I mean, the facts are overall in the big picture, that's just Newton's law. Okay. But, in the big picture, Bill, the pitching's been wonderful. Okay. And the hitting's been just pitiful. Okay. And, except for like Louis, they got one guy basically that's hitting for any kind of a decent average. The rest of the team is basically 200 or less. I mean, it's just pitiful. I mean, dead weight. Okay, so Buster's got to make this. I was going to make a point. He did great with this trade with Patrick because he does have backup and he does have some guys that can actually hit. Okay, because you got to do both. You got to hit and play defense.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, Dino, that you're frustrated about is like we've been talking about, the offense just is not rolling consistently. Yeah. You get a couple hits and then a double play ball. You get a ball hitting a gap, they catch it. Bryce Eldridge hits a ball to left field right against the wall. Could have tied the game up. They just haven't had a clutch hit. Yesterday they did. Yesterday I really enjoyed watching that game. I thought yesterday was a perfect game after a day off, more energy, more life. They played good defense. Chapman was awesome, and the pitching was good. Today it was good for about 4 or 5 innings. I thought Landon Roop got in trouble, got out of it. He punched out 8 guys, but the pitch count got to him. I just didn't understand why Tony Vitello wouldn't let him finish that 5th inning. Joey Bart gets an infield hit, a little Scherber down third base. He struck out O'Neill Cruz twice with curveballs. He was only at 93 pitches. I thought he still had something left in the tank, and I think he said something to Tony on the mound that he thought he should have stayed in there. They bring in Baruki to go against the lefty. He's been night and day against lefties. He has not pitched that great at times against lefties. That bullpen today with Baruki and Walker, both of those guys, to me, either get outrighted to AAA or optioned out, because there's got to be better down in AAA than what we're watching in Baruki and Walker right now.
Well, yeah, but right, Bill. Good point. And I also want to make one more thing, one more observation too, real fast. Is Patrick Bailey? I mean, Buster. Obviously, I mean, like I said, the pitching's been overall. They're going to win. What have they won? Two out of. I mean, they've lost.
They've lost three series they lost 3 series in a row, and they won 3 series in a row. Now they're with the loss today. Now. They got to win tomorrow to have some kind of momentum to go on this 10-day road trip. This could get real ugly on this road trip. As you know, 4 in L.A., 3 against the Athletics, and the Athletics are playing real good baseball. Then they finish up in Arizona. This is going to be the meat of the month of May, if they're going to hang or not.
But haven't they only won like 2 out of the last 10 games or something, or at least? I don't even know. Something like, I mean, it's just horrifying, okay?
It's something like that, yeah.
My point is, if Patrick ain't the only guy, and Buster's got to get rid of more dead weight somehow, some way. I mean, it's wonderful. It's a good feeling, and you've seen all the fans call in. It was actually a good feeling, but he's got to do. It's not just Patrick. I mean, he's got to come up with some genius moves.
He's got eyes on things. There's no doubt about it, Dino. He's not sitting on his fingers. He's not waiting on people. He's already told people in that clubhouse, hey, nobody's dispendable here. You got to play good baseball, and there was some focus there. A couple things happened today. Mental errors. Ramos trying to throw Cruz out at home. The runner at first goes to second. He ends up scoring. Then you got Drew Gilbert trying to throw out Horowitz at home. They don't get him. Runner at first goes to second. They're giving too many 90 feet free bases out. And a walk by Walker, and then a base hit. Then it's a wild pitch. Things like that. That's just bad baseball. And that's the stuff that I think we all are tired of. It's got to be cleaner baseball. And you see it one game, but you don't see it the next game. And I think, Dino, you and I are both saying it's got to get better. It's got to get cleaner. And there's got to be some more energy out of this team. But thanks again, Dino, for sticking in and giving me a call tonight. I appreciate it. All right, we're going to take a quick break on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. Got a lot of callers on board. No problem. We'll get to you as we continue right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
You're listening to the former Giants righty. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
Bryce Eldridge leads off for the Giants and hits a high fly ball to right field. Going deep, way back there, still going. Adios! That ball bounces out into San Francisco Bay. The first big league home run for Bryce Eldridge.
All right, welcome back to the Extra Inning Post-Game Show with Bill Laskey on a Saturday evening. Giants just couldn't get it together today as the Pirates pounded them for 13 runs on 20 hits, and the Giants came up with 3 runs on 7 hits. And really, it wasn't 3 runs. They ended up scoring 2 in the bottom of the 9th on walks, hit by pitch by Koss, who now in the postgame has said he's okay. His helmet was cracked. Just an ugly, ugly pitch up and in, and I'm so glad he's better. But those are the things that happen in these games. They get out of hand. And today was just a disappointing loss, a frustrating loss, and an embarrassing loss for all those fans that went out to Oracle Park to cheer the Giants on today. Tomorrow, 1:05, Mother's Day, Tyler Mahle is going to be on the hill for the San Francisco Giants. He's 1-4 with a 5-point earned run average. His last start in Tampa, he threw the ball pretty well. 5 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. He's going up against Bubba Chandler. Bubba Chandler's 1-4 with a 4.7 earned run average. The big thing with Bubba Chandler, he's hard time throwing strikes, and this is something where the Giants are going to have to watch a few more pitches. 26 walks he's been in 34 innings and on 25 more hits. So here's an opportunity to beat the 23-year-old Bubba Chandler. In his last game in Arizona, he went 5 innings, he walked 6. St. Louis, 5 innings, he walked 5. And in Texas, he walked 3. So this is an opportunity to get on base, score some early runs, and see if Tyler Mahle can back up that start he had in Tampa. All right, let's get back to the 4 lines, 415-808-KNBR. Let's go up to Portland. Talk to my buddy Greg. Greg, you're on the Saturday evening show. How are you doing up in Portland?
After this, I'm doing probably as good as you can do, is keep your chin up. Okay, I wanted to talk to you about the Bailey trade.
Mm-hmm. Give me your thoughts.
And I've been listening tonight, lots of good calls and good analysis and discussion. I think it was a good move. We've talked quite a bit, and I've been in Bailey's corner for some time, but this was a trade that makes sense. He goes to a team that wants a real good fundamental defensive, a catcher, which Patrick is, and they don't need to worry about hitting. But Patrick,
they got a good hitting team. When you look at it, Greg, that's the whole thing. And I think that was the discussion. I did the warm-up show, had a lot of calls today, and there were some callers that said, Bill, if the team was hitting, you could get away with a defensive catcher that didn't hit.
Exactly.
When the team's not hitting, when the team is not hitting, then you're looking at the 8th or 9th hitter where he was hitting, and it's an automatic out. So it's kind of moving the line down into the bottom of the order, but you had no punch. And when you're looking at his numbers, you start thinking of this. And I pulled it up for the warm-up show. And Greg, he had 12 hits only in this season. He had 12 hits and 82 at-bats. He hit 146, 1 home run, which was the 3-run home run to beat the Dodgers, and 5 RBIs. And to me, 12 hits in almost 6 weeks, that's not good enough at the big league level. And I think Buster saw that. And I think he saw Rodriguez. He saw Susac with upcoming young players that you could develop. You could develop with your pitching staff. And he made the move when he could get something for him. Because I think if you waited till June or July, I don't think you could flip him. I really don't think you could have.
No, you and I are on the same page. And when I heard this today, I said it's a good move for both clubs. And that's the optimal trade where everybody is happy, at least at the moment.
Well, they get another first pick. They get another first pick in the June draft, so now they get the fourth pick and the 29th pick, which you, again, you're developing your minor leagues. You get a young left-handed pitcher, Matt Tugboat Wilkinson, and he's pitched pretty well, 23 years old, 28 in the third innings, and what I like, 36 strikeouts and 9 walks. And it's just some of those things where you could pick up a pitcher, you develop him. He went right from Akron right across in the dugout, and they're playing Richmond. And he ended up pitching against Richmond, and he ended up throwing like 4 innings, no hits, no runs, and he punched out 4 or 5 guys. And it was a good move, and I think the Giants did pick up a left-hander. And one of the things that was really cool this morning, somebody said Tugboat Wilkinson looks like David Wells. And you know what? I went back and looked at some video, and I said, he does. He's a big boy, 6'1", 250. He's a big dude. And you know what? Look what David Wells does. So if you got a David Wells in Double-A with Matt Tugboat, maybe there's something there. You just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, we're all unhappy, and
it's just a disappointing loss. It's frustrating. Yeah. It's embarrassing. I mean, when you're looking at the bullpen in the middle of this game, they had nothing. They got hit it pretty well, and I think there might be some changes there also. I think Buster might grab a couple guys in AAA that are throwing the ball a little better, give them some new arms down in the bullpen. Hopefully Eric Miller comes back soon. That's another lefty they need down there. And if you were in a tight game like this, and this is something that I was thinking about, it's still a 0-0 game. And they bring in Baruki. And if you had an opportunity to try to keep this game 0-0, why didn't Matt Gage come in the middle of that game? He's your best lefty. You bring him in later in the game, and it wasn't to a point where you needed him. The game was open at that time. And it really punched Landon Roop in the jaw, no question. He didn't want to come out of that game. He was at 94 pitches, and I said 24 foul balls they had against him. It just really upped his pitch count. And the walks hurt him a little bit. He still punched out 8, but I just didn't understand some of the concepts that Tony Vitello's doing with the bullpen. If you're trying to win a game 1-0, you're still 0-0. And, Roop had pitched pretty well, a little bleeder down the line by Joey Bart. They took him out after he had punched out Cruz twice. So there are some questions in the moves he made in the middle of that game. And he really, the middle of the bullpen just got blown up tonight.
Well, Bill, I tell you frequently, I learned baseball from listening to you. And
I appreciate it, Greg.
I kind of knew this, but you brought this up earlier this evening, and you brought it up a moment ago. Those 24 foul balls wear out pitchers. And, I caught.
And you don't think about it, right, Greg? You don't think of that stat. Yeah, you don't think of that stat. And I look at those stats. Yeah, I look at them, and that just opened I said, wow, that's a big number. And when I looked, it was foul balls, and I was like, my goodness, there's your 94 pitches. You take 24 foul balls off, and look where he is. He's down in a number where he could have easily gone through the 5th inning. It did happen.
Okay, before I leave you, last night I listened to you and some fellow, and I almost called in. I loved it. I am sick and tired of all these bar league uniforms. I love Gigantes, but listen, but they had the Gigantes idea right last year, wear the cream and the black and orange and just have Gigantes. And now we got the tavern look, and then we got Orange Friday,
City Connect,
and I just hate it. And even the Dodgers now have been dragged into this with a blue top. Okay,
well, that's what they're doing.
I know.
Well, Greg, you take care up
Bill,
there. It's always great catching up with you, buddy. Let's go to Palo Alto and talk to Bruce. Bruce, you're on an extra inning post-game show. First of all, let's talk about Patrick Bailey. What did you think of the trade this morning? Was it surprising? And then we can talk about this Giants offense. How are you today, Bruce?
I'm doing okay, Bill. That's good to talk to you. Enjoy always enjoyed doing that. What do I think? Well, I think one ironic thing is that Joey Bart was in the other dugout. Considering I'm looking back at when they were drafted.
I thought the same thing. I brought that up on the warm-up show, and he's scratching his head going, I got traded for him, and they just traded him away, and what does he do tonight?
Yeah,
he goes 4 for 5 with 2 RBIs. Right. Talking a little salt in the wound right there for Joey Bart.
Well, I'm looking at the list of the last 10 picks the Giants had, and I'll come back to that in a second, but in 18, it was Barton. I was always shocked that it was only 2 years later that they picked Bailey. Yeah. And of course, you don't know whether there was a quick reevaluation of Bart or not. But and sandwiched in between was Hunter Bishop, who I think is from Palo Alto. Coincidentally, I could be wrong about that, but nevertheless, he's been hurt so much. It's a shame because he was the center fielder that they thought was going to be playing for them for about 10 or 15 years with speed and power. But anyway, it didn't work out. But as far as the trade goes, I think somebody mentioned tonight, maybe it was the previous caller, there's a trade that can help both teams. He's going to a team in Cleveland that is ideally suited for him. They've already got in Austin Hedges a weak-hitting catcher, but a really good defensive catcher. But that's what this team is about in a division in the AL Central, where you don't have to have a bunch of power bats. KC is starting to develop that, but Cleveland has won without anybody but Jose Ramirez being much of a power hitter. Everybody else is a player who knows how to move a runner from first to third, goes with a pitch, doesn't overswing, has a plan coming up to the plate, and all they do is keep winning. I mean, was it?
Well, I mentioned this earlier, Bruce. I mentioned this earlier. If you had Devers, if you had Adames, if you had Chapman, your 3 centerpieces, if they were doing what they were supposed to do, 250, 260, 270, driving in runs, home run ball, you could take Patrick Bailey's less offense and use it as defense. And I just said that earlier, but it's not happening.
Right.
And now you come down to that 8th and 9th hole in the bottom of the lineup, and they're outs. And there's nothing down there to push that leadoff guy back into a function of the game. Yeah. And I think that has a lot to do with it when you're looking at 1 through 9 in this lineup.
Yeah, of course. But the problem, and this is what I was getting to with Cleveland, is the Giants don't have it. They need more of a team like Cleveland, a balanced lineup where you have 5 hitters who can put the ball in play, move a runner along, where they can score runs with an out. A walk. I mean,
that's what the Giants are supposed to be, right, Bruce? Isn't that how the Giants are? But aren't the Giants supposed to be like that? That's what I'm saying. You've got the hitters here. They're just not doing what they're supposed to do.
No, this is where I think I disagree. The Giants, Mike said, they went 130 batters without drawing a walk. Tomorrow, if they don't draw a walk against a guy like you mentioned earlier, who's walking guys right and left, averaging about 4 or 5 a game, something is seriously wrong. But the reason I say what I do is these guys are free swingers. Look at all the strikeouts in their career each of them have had, especially Adames and Devers. And if they don't have their swing down, and as they get older, they don't have the ability with 2 strikes to move that runner along. Adames looks like he has warning track power now after the last couple of nights where he's come close to hitting one out.
Well, Bruce, the other thing too is, Bruce, just let me throw this in there. To get walks, you got to push that pitcher to get more pitches out of him. When you're swinging at the first and second pitch all the time and rolling over or popping up, that's why you're not walking. You're not getting deep into counts. These hitters aren't watching that many pitches. And then when they do get a good pitch, it's right down the middle and they take it. The approach to this team this year, it's brutal. And too many first pitch swings, too many second pitch swings. Even Buster Posey said, how are we supposed to steal bags when we can't even get a guy on first base? We're finally ground out, pop up, ground out. You get a couple guys on, you get a double play. That happened in the first inning today. You have to establish something with hitters. If I'm pitching against this team, you're damn right. The first couple pitches are on a corner. Let them swing away. Because I know they're going to be aggressive the first couple pitches. And we're seeing it all the time. And there was one game I looked at, there was maybe 6 straight swings first pitch. And how are you supposed to establish anything against the opposing starting pitcher if you're not watching what he's throwing? And this team doesn't do that.
The problem is more that they just don't have patience, or they don't know the strike zone,
Correct.
Or both.
Correct.
But
Yep.
Again, Buster is hamstrung because the guys that we're referring to, the big strikeout guys, have the biggest contracts, and nobody
Correct.
is going to take on those contracts unless they're given a prime plum prospect, and Buster doesn't want to give up those prospects. And
Plus you're probably
the
going to
three
have to
best
eat half of their contract too. If you're going to try to move them, you're going to have to eat some of that contract. And that's the only way you're going to move one of these big contracts. And also you have some no-trade clauses in some of them. So, again, you're going to have to see how you move those. But he's stern about these 3 guys. He likes Chapman. He likes Adames. He likes Devers. And he feels that they're going to come out of this. We saw Devers. He had an 8-game hitting streak. You saw some good things out of him. Today was ugly again. A ground ball double play and 2 punch-outs. Maybe he's going to have to arrest a couple of these guys. He did it before. Maybe start a little fire under some of these veterans' tails. But something's got to change with some of these guys, and it's just the approach. And like we're talking about, they need to draw some walks, and that's the only way they're going to do it, though, Bruce. So, hey, great call. I appreciate it. Let's go to Yuba City and talk to Ken. Ken, you're on an extra inning post-game show. What'd you think of Bailey trade today? Are you there, Ken? Brian in Modesto. Sorry about that, Ken. Brian in Modesto, you're on an extra inning post-game show. Let me hear your thoughts on the Patrick Bailey trade.
Hey, the Dodgers lost. Anyway.
There's a start.
That's a good
thumbs
thing.
up.
That's something, Anyway, okay. So I think Buster is now realizing the gravity of the hitting situation. Because he got rid of Patrick Bailey, and he has Susac, who appears to be major league ready.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Rodriguez, who appears to be major league ready. And let's hope that that's the beginning, the first building block of really developing players in the farm system, because don't you think the farm system is stronger than it has been?
It has. And you can tell if you look at Sacramento, you look at Richmond, you look at Eugene and San Jose, they all have winning records. And that just tells you right there that the movement of Randy Wynn coming down there, making some moves, keeping guys at a lower level. And some of these guys are 19 and 20 years old. And I'm sure if we got a list, we would have a lot of young youth in San Jose, Eugene, now even in Papago, where they're having the extended spring with a couple real young shortstops. I think the move that he's doing is correct. I think he is building a different culture in the minor leagues. We haven't seen that all the way back to Brian Sabian days. And I think that's one thing is a positive moving forward. But he's got to figure out what he's going to do at this big league level. This roster needs a shakeup. He did it today. And it needs something else. There's got to be a punch here somewhere that we haven't looked at that could be a possible change here or there. And I'm waiting to see what his next move is. He's not done yet. When you're talking about a trade on May 9th, this guy's not sitting home happy. He's sitting home not sleeping, and he's thinking what I could do to help this team.
Well, what I think he really needs to do is sit down with some of these guys like Ramos and Chapman and Adames. I mean, first of all, you talk about Adames. Do you think Buster really appreciates his happy-go-lucky approach, his look at what could sometimes be construed as aloof?
Mm-hmm. I'm right there with you.
I
just don't. I don't like it. I don't like it, to tell you the truth. I don't like to be in the friendly against the opposing team. When I played for Frank Robinson, he used to come out and watch to see who's going to talk to that opposing team. He hated it. He used to say, that's your enemy. You're going out there to face your enemy. There isn't anybody on that team you should be happy and friendly with. That was old day baseball. That's when you went out there wanting to fight, wanting to beat up somebody, wanting to win. You had that adrenaline all the time. That's what I don't like about this friendly, good-looking, hey, I'm going to nudge Cruz, Cummings going to second base, hey, I'm going to hit him a little bit, tap him. I hate that. I really do. I just don't like that friendly, hey, how are you? Hey, good to see you. No, I don't like it. And that's too much now. And the game has changed that way. Hey, you can be a friend once you take that uniform off. You can go out tonight, you can go to dinner, you can do whatever you want. But on that field, you're my competition. And I hope that Buster Posey pushes that a little bit harder than what he is.
Well, I do know that Buster is as old school as I am and as you are. And I have to tell you that what he has to do is sit down with these veterans and really tell them what winning is all about. Because he's got rings. He's got 3 rings. And he could sit there and say, well, guys, how many rings have you got?
That's right.
When was the last time that you made a difference?
And look at the young guys that came up with him. Look at the Crawfords, the Belts, the Bumgartners, the Canes. You could go on and on. But when they put that uniform on, they came together and wanted to win, and they fought to win. This team you see glimpses of. You see some like, yeah, they played so well today. Can they do it tomorrow? And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a good game yesterday, and then today it's an embarrassing game. That's what I want to change with this team. This team's got to get waking up and play better. When you win 2 games and lose 9 out of 11, that's not good baseball. And that's not Giants baseball. And that's not Buster Posey baseball. But somehow, some way, Brian, it's got to change. And it's got to change to the point of let's try to win a little bit more and a little harder and a little more competitive, and let's see if that can work.
Yeah, well, he needs to be blunt with these guys. He's going to say, produce, or your ass is gone. That's it.
Or you sit them down.
Or
you sit them down. Yeah, or you sit them down and get somebody else in there to play. And I think that's what might have to happen. I really do. I think that some of these guys need to have a wake-up call. And the only way you wake them up, you sit them down. Yeah, you got a big contract. I mean, you look at what Matt Chapman, he got his first hit since April 30th today. His first hit.
Wow.
He was like 5 for 65 or something like that. That's not good hitting. That's not approach. That's not making adjustments. That's the stuff that bugs me. It really does. Tonight, later in the show, I interviewed Bill Madlock. He won 4 batting titles. And we talked about how do you draw more walks? How do you put the ball in play? How do you go opposite way? What are you thinking in the on-deck circle? It's a great interview from Bill Madlock. You'll enjoy it because if you like hitting, Bill Madlock's the guy to preach it. But I appreciate your call, Brian. Thanks so much. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Got a few more calls to get to, and I got a couple great interviews. Laura Britt, who was supposed to be on the warm-up show, she's moving on to Atlanta. She was working with NBC Bay Area. Got a great memory of her. Got a great interview with her coming up. And also, like I just said, Bill Mad Dog Madlock. What a great interview that's going to be, especially on the hitting side. Listening to a top-line hitter talk about some of the flaws the Giants have and how he thinks they could get out of it. But we'll talk about that later. Got a couple more calls. We'll take a break right here on the Extra Inning Postgame Show on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
From the mound to the mic, this is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him by saying to your smart speaker, play KNBR.
All right, back on KNBR with Bill Laskey on a Saturday evening. Giants get embarrassed by the Pittsburgh Pirates tonight at Oracle. Losers 13-3, 13 runs on 20 hits by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Tomorrow, they're going to try to win the series. That's right, turn the page. It's Mother's Day. We got to have a win for all the mothers out there. And Tyler Mahley's going to try to do that at 105. Tyler Mahley 1-4 with a 5-point earned run average. Going against Bubba Chandler. He's 1-4 with a 4.7 earned run average. Two right-handers are going to take the mound at 105. All right, let's go to Alex Alex. He's in Vegas. Alex, you're on a late night post-game show. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, Bill. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Just an embarrassing loss tonight. Of course, when you give up 13 runs on 20 hits, it's not a good performance by your pitching staff.
It's brutal. This year has been kind of bizarre, especially with the way we started in spring training. And, I really high hopes for this team. And it just has been.
Me too.
It seems like everything that can go wrong has gone wrong. And I wanted to ask you specifically about Patrick Bailey. And, I wish him the best. Joey Bart, both of them being drafted as fairly high draft picks behind, Buster Posey. It's got to be difficult. So I hope, Patrick Bailey finds consistent playing time. But I wanted to ask, do you think the ABS challenging had anything to do? Does that diminish how good he is behind the plate?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I was just curious.
Oh, I say 100% because it's a smaller strike zone. And the opposing team checks twice, right? If they check twice in an earlier part of the game, then it goes to Patrick Bailey. But if they have one left over, he can't pull it in like he used to. He used to snag those pitches for Logan Webb, especially Logan Webb, with that low pitch. He used to bring it in. He was really good at that, and I think the ABS pushed him out of that. Great point there, Alex, and I agree. ABS has really challenged some catchers that are really good at that, and Patrick Bailey was the best, and he just couldn't help the pitchers. And you can't always tap the helmet and check because sometimes you use it early and you don't have anything at the end, and you got to be have a little strategy with it. And I think the hitters need to think about that a little bit more as the season goes on.
Yeah, I agree. Challenging on a 1-0 call in the second inning is probably not the play.
Exactly. And then when you see the whole ball in the strike zone, how about that, Alex? When you see the whole ball in the strike zone, you're like, what did you even challenge? And some of the announcers get a kick out of it.
Oh, I know. I've been watching these memes about Angel Hernandez and some of his old calls and how far they were. It's just... It cracks me. If they had the ABS back then, I don't know how long he would have been around.
Oh, we could go on with a few umpires back in my day. Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. One of my best friends, Adrian, and his wife, Ximena, had their baby shower today in San Jose. I couldn't make it.
Oh,
I moved
fantastic.
to Vegas, so just wanted to shout them out.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations to him. That's a great shout-out, Alex.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Bill. I love, you guys on the radio. It brings back good memories of me and my dad listening when, I was a young kid. And I grew up in the Pleasant. I actually went to Foothill High School where Brandon Crawford went, and he hit a 400-something foot bomb off me when I was a freshman.
So, you kind of laid it in there for him, huh?
Well,
Alex,
if you asked me, I struck him
call.
out, but the coach was calling balls and strikes.
Well, there you go. Then we got a reason for it, right? You had to lay it in there for him, so you didn't want to walk him. Alex, thanks for the call. Appreciate it, my friend. All right, let's go to South City and talk to John. John, you're on a late-night post-game show. What's going on, and an embarrassing loss for the Giants tonight?
You're right on that, Bill. It was the most embarrassing loss. Unfortunately, I was at the game, and to be honest with you, the way I saw today's game was out embarrassing. Ramos dropping a pop fly should have been caught, and Adames booting a ball, and that's just unacceptable. On that play.
Well, the ball to Ramos was tough because it was in the lights. It was a low line drive. Krukenkipe said it perfectly, and he kind of lost it. It is a tough lights in left field. I'm not making an excuse for him. Big leaguers should be able to catch him. That was a low liner. But what I didn't like about Ramos was trying to throw out Cruz at home plate and made that runner give him 90 feet from going to first base to second base, and he eventually scored. Those are the things that he did as well as Gilbert did, trying to make throws at home plate, weren't even close, and are giving that hitter another free 90 feet to get to second base for scoring. That has to be cleaned up. If you can't hit your cutoff man, don't try to airball it and try to get him out at home. They don't have strong enough arms to do it, and they're trying to throw out guys like Cruz. Come on. Cruz could stand up backwards, and it still couldn't throw him out.
You're right, Bill. I agree with you as well. And your last caller brought something up. that the things of the players talking to another opposing player, it kind of bothers me. I'm sorry to say that it kind of bothers me.
No, it does.
Like, really,
and I think everybody knows me. I'm an old school kind of guy, and I bring up Frank Robinson. I bring up Danny Ozark. They hated you to talk against the opposing team. They used to say, if you want to go out to lunch with them, and you can take them out and talk and laugh all you want. When you come on that field, that's your opposing team. That's the enemy. That's where you got to go to battle and beat them. I don't like the, hi, how are you at second base. Today I saw Cruz go into second base on a steal. The ball was fouled off, and Adames shoulders them, and they laugh a little bit. I hate that because that's not telling me you want to beat them. It's telling me you want to be their friend, and I don't want a friend like that. I want to beat your tail when I get on that field, and that's how I grew up playing. That's how we learned how to play. The opposition was the team you had to beat, and that day, those 9 guys on the field were my enemy, and I wanted to beat you, and I wanted to beat you badly. And sometimes the hi, how are you, good time, hey, how are you? I don't like it, and I think, John, you said it too. You don't like it either.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Bill, do we have an update on Costa's injury yet?
Yeah, Cost said in the postgame that he's fine, cracked his helmet with that pitch. It kind of grazed the shoulder, but, man, those pitches, I don't know how hitters get out of the way. And, of course, those masks now to guard the face, it helped him. But here's a kid that hasn't played much, and he gets an at-bat, and the next thing you know, he's laying flat on the ground. Didn't know how it was, didn't know if he was going to get a concussion or not. It's just sad when I see stuff like that. And I'm sure Sanders didn't want to go up and in. He's trying to throw a sinker that got under. But tough game for him, and I just want to see Christian Koss play a little bit more.
I absolutely agree with you. And the one thing that kind of bothers me most is seeing Barucki. He can't find the strike zone, Bill. He can't.
Yeah, when you're looking at his stats against right-handers, it seems like they're hitting 500 off of him. The Philadelphia game when he came in and gets Schwarber and Harper out, the 2 lefties, he walks them both. I'm not down on Barucki, but I'm not a fan of Barucki. And there's got to be something better in the minor leagues as a left-hander. There's a couple guys on rehabs. Also, Walker. Walker has just pitched his way out of the bullpen in my mind. He is not consistent. He doesn't come in throwing strikes. The walk in the 6th inning after he strikes out Asuno just fell through. Base hit, and he's out of the game. There's something that's wrong with him. I don't know if he's trying to throw too hard, but he's not throwing strikes. And since he's been out of the closer's role, you can't find nowhere where you can put him.
Yeah, you're right on that one. I feel like, to be honest with you, Bill, I feel like he's maybe like he shakes off a pitch or catcher. They have pitch comp, but I have a funny feeling he just shakes shakes the catchers off.
There's not too many pitches he can throw. He throws a sinker, a cross-seamer, and a slider. I don't know what he's shaking off. It's one or the other most of the time. But I want to see him get ahead of hitters, and he's not doing that. He's not getting ahead of hitters 2-0, 2-1, and that's not how he used to pitch when he was on fire. He came right at you. And he had pitches, 10, 12 pitch innings. Now, today was really ugly. He had 26 pitches in 2/3 of an inning. That's not good pitching.
That's not even good. That's not acceptable by the pitching staff and the bullpen as well, Bill. And then today's game was totally unacceptable. To lose.
I agree. Well, that's why you turn it off. You turn it off, John, and you hope for the best tomorrow to see if they can win this series and leave, with a 3-3 homestand. But this road trip is going to be so important for the Giants, a 10-game road trip right in the month of May, right in the middle of the May, that could really sink them, or they could play good baseball and come ahead. But it's going to be good. It's going to be a good battle. 4 games in L.A., 3 against Athletics in Sacramento, and then you finish out in Arizona. 3 good teams that are playing good baseball.
Absolutely, Bill. Bill, let's hope Mr. Malley can get a win tomorrow on those people's Mother's Day, and then hopefully get a win on my dad's birthday tomorrow. So they need to win on Mother's Day.
Happy birthday, Dad. Let's do it, John. I'm all for it, John. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms. Get a win there, and Happy birthday to John's dad. Let's try it. All right, John, thanks for the call. Let's go out to Berkeley and talk to my buddy Andrea. Andrea, how are you on a Saturday night?
Good. How are you doing?
Well, embarrassing loss. It's tough, but a lot of fans like the trade of Patrick Bailey. I think they're looking at the younger catchers as a possible plus to get hits and score some runs, and I think that's what we're waiting on with Susak, who's in rehab. He's going to be back probably Monday, and, of course, Jesus Rodriguez, a young 24-year-old Venezuelan catcher that's hitting the ball pretty well, 5 for 11.
Right. I think, the Giants will land on their feet, and so will Patrick Bailey. He's a Gemini. Variety's the spice of life. Let's see, May 29, 99, and he'll always be remembered for that epic home run, that walk-off.
There's been a couple of them, Andrea, a couple of them. The inside the park home run, the grand slam, and even this year when he hit the 3-run home to beat the Dodgers. I mean, there are some really top moments of him in a Giants uniform.
Yes, and I like that he used to wear this tie-dyed headband. He was a real character, and I wish him well on his next step in the journey. And to take a page out of your positive playbook, Bryce Eldridge, first major league home run. And
I'm happy for him. I'm really happy. He almost got another one, too, to left field. They caught it right at the wall, and that would have tied the game.
Right.
Better swings. He was 1 for 9, and today he goes 1 for 4, but hit the ball a couple times on the nose. And those are things that you gravitate to as a young player, getting up there, making contact, and, of course, hitting that home run, had a smile on his face.
Oh, yeah. No, that was, first major league home run. You'll always remember that. And he's October 20th, 2024. So maybe it be the first of many. And I'm a little concerned about, Logan Webb. He's a secretive Scorpio, November 18, 96, is it? Yeah, and he's having a Saturn transit, which rules the skeletal system, bones, knees, teeth, joints. So, timing's everything. He'll be okay. But I think.
And, Andrea, we really didn't mention it tonight. Logan Webb did go on the IL, 15-day IL for knee bursitis. And it is his right knee, and he's going to, take some time off. Of course, they're going to miss him. Second time in his career to go on the IL. I think it's good for him to get a little rest. I think it really bothered him more than what we knew. And anytime you have leg injuries from a pitcher, it's hard to push off the mound, and it's also hard to get down in the zone. And that last outing, when he gave up so many runs in the one inning in the Padres, everything was up. And he's not like that. The changeup was up, the sinker was up. And I think that was the first sign of him saying, hey, I got to look into this a little bit more.
Right. I mean, Scorpios are very private, very mysterious. And he had that, side about him, when people would ask him, about how he's feeling, he'd be like, all right, but, we'll see. And now, finally he admitted that he does need some rest, and the knee bursitis is just something, you take some rest from. But, he's had the most innings, and he really prides himself on not missing a start.
Well, so, Trevor McDonald comes back up. Trevor McDonald pitched a great game, the first game of the homestand. 7 innings, only giving up 2 hits. He gave up a home run. But he pitched well. No walks, 8 strikeouts, and he'll probably get one of the starts in L.A., and we'll see. All we can do is put 5 guys out there in starting 5 and keep going. I just think the bullpen needs a couple new arms. I think they got to get a fresh arm or 2 and change a little bit in the bullpen, too.
And Tugboat Wilkinson, I haven't done his chart yet, but guess what? He's a Sagittarius like you, December 10th.
Yeah,
2002.
Tugboat's coming to town.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to run his chart, but I will.
What a good nickname. His dad gave him that nickname one time. I was reading an article about it. It said he was running the bases, and he couldn't get around the bases fast enough, and his dad called him Tugboat. I thought that was pretty good. 6'1", 250 pounds. But I loved it. I was doing a warm-up show, and somebody called him David Wells, and I went back and looked at them both, and we might have a new David Wells in Double-A, Andrea.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. So, when one door closes, another opens. So it'll be interesting to see what he's like. So I look forward to that. And just
well,
a quick
Andrea,
question.
a great call once again, Andrea.
Yeah.
I got Laura Britt coming up next. I had a chance to catch up with her. Of course, she's moving to Atlanta, and we got some great memories of Laura Britt, so I want to get that on the air. But again, Andrea, have a great rest of the night. And again, tomorrow, happy Mother's Day for all the women out there, and hopefully all of you will have a good Mother's Day. But we'll take a quick break, come back with me, and talking to Laura Britt. I knew Laura from all the way back when she started 8 years ago on NBC Bay Area. And I had it for the warm-up show. When you hear what I'm going to bring it in, it'll say the warm-up show. We didn't have a chance to bring it out this morning, but I want you listeners to hear this because Laura Britt, a good friend of mine, and she's leaving for Atlanta, Georgia. That's coming up next right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with former Giants right-hander Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR. Play KNBR.
Welcome back to the KNBR Warm-Up Show with Bill Laskey. My guest, 4-time Emmy Award winner. She covered the Giants, the 49ers, the Warriors, the Sharks, the A's, and even the Kings. And she's moving on after 8 years with NBC Bay Area. Let's welcome in my friend Laura Brett. Laura, how are you today?
Bill, a trip down memory lane.
I know. I
doing
can't wait.
good.
I can't wait to dive into it. So let's get started. Let's talk about the 49ers first. I mean, some great segments that you did down at Levi Stadium. What a beautiful football stadium. But I want to dive into two things that you did very well. In 2019 and 2023, the Super Bowls. You went to Miami and Las Vegas. How much work did you have to put into doing all that? And was it a fun adventure?
There's really nothing like covering a Super Bowl, to be honest. It was such a crazy experience. I remember the first one down in Miami. It's one of those moments in your career where you go, wow, I've made it. I get to cover the Super Bowl. It was my first time experiencing Radio Row. And for anyone who's never gotten the chance to do that, it's just this, large conference room with every sports media network there. There are all these shows going. There's so much energy and excitement. Everybody walking around, all these sports figures walking around doing interviews. That was a really cool experience. And then obviously just everything during Super Bowl week. There are all these fun events going on. And I don't know, there's a lot of work in there too. So you don't really sleep. We had this really cool set for any of your listeners that were able to go down there, maybe watched it on NBC Sports Bay Area. We had this really cool set, in Miami on the street where a ton of people walk by. So we had tons of crowds that were able to watch our shows live and be a part of it live. And that was really cool because a lot of times, as you know, I'm in a studio. And so you don't get that interaction with the fans. And that was really awesome. And there are times where you can feel the energy of people. And that was one of the places where you felt it a lot. And it was so fun. We had this live band one night for our shows. And Greg Papa was on one, just had the Lombardi Trophy hat one night on his head. It was just so fun. Obviously, it did not end well for the 49ers, but there's so much that goes into it leading up to it. And just the work was fun. It's fun to be able to bring, obviously not everybody's able to travel down there, all the Niners fans. So I felt a really big responsibility in bringing that experience to people through the TV screen. And I hope we did it well. It was really fun.
Well, Laura, in 2020, from the cardboard cutouts to 49er talk with Matt Maiocchi, how was it working with Matt? Because you two really worked well together.
Matt Maiocco is one of my favorite humans. There are people sometimes that you just click with, and Matt and I absolutely clicked. He's obviously been covering the team for a really long time, and that was something that's so valuable to me as somebody that was new to the Bay Area. And sometimes, understandably, there might be a reporter or a beat writer that isn't exactly super welcoming to somebody new, knowing, hey, I've been here for 30 years and this person's just stepping in. Matt could not be more of the opposite. He brought me in to every interview, invited me to join him in the interviews, and sometimes sit and listen, and then sometimes join in with him. And it was such a great way for me to get plugged into the 49ers. I don't want this to be like the Matt Maiocco praise show, because he'll give me heck about that. But I really, honestly, I could talk about him all day. Just a true professional. You guys all know that from reading his work and seeing his work. But there's something behind the scenes that you guys don't get to see. And that's how, somebody that has been covering a team for a really long time treats somebody new.
Mm-hmm.
And, you too, you were one of the first people I got to work with on a set.
Yeah.
The old sets at NBC Sports Bay Area. And, you guys just really welcomed me. That's what makes this transition so difficult. And emotional for me is, people always say, "Oh, you're from Alabama and you're in San Francisco." Like, what? How is that? What's it like? That's got to be crazy. And people here say the same thing. They're like, "Oh, people must think you're crazy back home." And honestly, it's people are people no matter where you are. And I have been so welcomed in the Bay Area. It makes me teary thinking about it, Bill.
Well, Laura, in 2024, you had something really cool happen. You were the studio host for the Olympics, which were being done in Paris. Something new, something different. How excited were you to do it? And you had to be a little nervous.
I was a little nervous, and that's another one of those moments. I did the Super Bowls, and those are our career moments, and this one was a huge career milestone for me. Maybe personally bigger than the Super Bowls, just because it's something that I've been watching since I was a little kid. And you get so invested in the stories of the Olympics, and NBC does this incredible job of bringing those stories to life and following these athletes from their. It's all about the hometowns and where they're from and the hours that it takes for them to train, and to be able to bring that to people was really special. And it was this 3-week. You're in this like bubble of the Olympics for 3 weeks. I was actually in Stamford, Connecticut. What most people don't know is the majority of us don't actually go to the location. NBC Sports headquarters is in Stamford, Connecticut. And so I think there were about 3,000 of us. Production, everybody that had descended upon Stamford, Connecticut. And it was such a cool experience. There's no time of day that you walk into that building that it's not buzzing. So you would go in at 1 a.m. and people are still bringing you broadcasts at 1 a.m. It's such a unique experience, and I hope I get to do it again in the future.
Laura Britt joining me on the KNBR warm-up show. Let's go to baseball, and I want to start off with Rick Wood. I mean, you got to travel to Birmingham, Alabama, cover something that had Willie Mays' name on it. How cool was that to go back to your state and as well as covering this, because it was elite?
I feel like it was a God thing, because when did the San Francisco Giants, ever play in Birmingham? Well, never, except for that one time.
Yeah.
And I'm obviously from Birmingham, and I'm covering the Giants. Like, for all those stars to align was so, I got to bring my friends that I've made out here in the Bay Area, my work friends. They all got to see where I grew up and my place. And I got to take them to my favorite restaurants. And it's actually even more special now because I have a friend that was killed in December, and she's a sports broadcaster as well. She's my best friend. Her name's Christina Chambers. A tragic situation, and we actually got to cover that together.
Wow.
So she's my best friend from college, and she worked in the Birmingham market as a sports broadcaster, and we sat in the press box. I never get to cover games, with my best friend, because we're so far away, and we got to cover everything about Rickwood Field, that game with the Cardinals and the Giants, all together. And so that specific game and everything surrounding Rickwood holds very, very, very close meaning to me now, especially after she passed away.
Well, Laura, you started with NBC Bay Area in 2018. You went through Bruce Bochy, Gabe Kapler, Bob Melvin, and now Tony Vitello. 4 managers since 2018. Who was your favorite, and who was the hardest you had to deal with?
Oh, gosh, you can't do that to me, Bill. This is going to sound like your listeners are going to be like, oh, what a political answer.
I want an answer.
I know you want an answer, right? I mean, I feel like I knew Bob probably the best, just because I think he was the longest tenured while I was covering the team, or maybe it was Kapler. Anyway, I knew Bob a little bit just from my time covering the A's when he was there. So I feel like I have a better hold on Bob than the others. I actually haven't even gotten to meet Tony yet because, as all of you know, I'm leaving, and so I didn't go to spring training this year. And when I'm doing the studio shows before I leave, I've got a few more that I'm doing. A lot of the times the teams are away, or it's an early game, and so you don't go to the ballpark. So I haven't even gotten the chance to meet Tony yet. Obviously seen all of his interviews, and and all that stuff. But I've heard great things about him just from a personal standpoint that, the coaches that are surrounding him have really enjoyed being around him. But I probably got to know Bob the best. And I always appreciated Bob because he gives he just gives you, he tells it like it is. It's not like you felt like he was obfuscating anything from you or trying to like get around an answer. He would just be honest. And for me, that's all I can ask for, right? A player to be honest,
That's
a
right.
manager to be honest, a coach to be honest. You can tell when people are fibbing. You can tell when people are like dancing around the truth. And I never felt like that with Bob. He's a straight shooter. I mean, there's a reason he's been doing it for as long as he has. So I really enjoyed Bob Melvin and his tenure with the Giants just because he's a real one.
Well, you talked about spring training. You went to spring training for many years, some great sets, some great fun, and you work with Alex Pavlovich. And once again, Giants talk comes around. Two great minds talking baseball. You interviewed so many great athletes. Tell me a moment of spring training.
Yeah, spring training is really the time when, so first off, everybody's coming off of vacation. The players, the coaches, we're still working, obviously covering the Niners and all these other teams, but not that grind of baseball that, as you know all too well, can really just eat your lunch if you're not ready for it. And even if you are ready for it, it eats your lunch too. But I think spring training is this unique time where everybody's got so much hope. There's nothing that's happened yet, and everybody's happy. They're coming off vacation. You're all in Arizona where it's nice and warm and it's beautiful. And so it's a time where you really get to know the players unlike any other time in the year. Because once the baseball season starts, I know you guys hear all the interviews that we do, and you're in the clubhouse talking to players, but everything's rushed. You got another game. They're taking off on a flight to go across the country. They're coming back. It's a grind, but during spring training, you've got time to breathe. So you can do longer form interviews. You can really take time in the clubhouse to get to know people where things aren't as rushed. And so I've always really valued that time as a broadcaster to be able to really get to know the guys. And that sets up great coverage for the rest of the season because you can kind of pull on that throughout the season as you're covering the team.
Well, Laura, as we finish up here, you did a couple other things. You covered women's sports. One of the things you did was women's empowerment broadcast was one cool thing. And then you also did the California Conference for Women. And you really covered women's sports and getting the female voice out there. How important was that for you?
Yeah, actually, Devin Fox at NBC Sports Bay Area had approached me about hosting the women's broadcast, and I've done that a few times now with the Warriors. I did it with the Kings, all through NBC Sports Bay Area. And I remember the first one I did was with the Kings, and I'm big on just whoever's the best at the job. Let's go out there and do that. Like I don't need to be male or female or whatever. It's just like, let's go do a great job. And so I was going into that just expecting to just do a great job and prepare just like I do for everything else. And it was actually very cool. And every single one of them that I've done is unique. And I wasn't expecting to have the feeling that I did, to be honest with you. It surprised me a little bit, just in that it is different when you're sitting next to two other female analysts, because I was always in that host role and we would have analysts. And then when you're tossing out to the broadcast and it was a female play-by-play and a female color analyst, it was very unique. And it does give you a sense of pride and enjoyment that surprised me a little bit. I wasn't expecting to feel that. And I don't know, it was a very unique experience and some that I'll hold on to dearly. I mean, we just did one with the Warriors a month or two ago, and I truly enjoy those evenings.
Well, Laura, from Lenardi's sandwiches to Gino's pizza to those people that don't like chocolate, tell me a little bit how you finish this up.
Yeah, he's referring to my Twitter page or my X page. I don't like people who don't like chocolate, because you've got to question somebody if they're not a chocolate fan. That's really what that comes down to. right? You got
Sure.
something wrong with you if you don't like chocolate. There's something wrong.
And
There's
what
something
about
else
the
going on.
Lenardi sandwiches I turned you on to as soon as you got to the Bay Area?
You sure did. You really did. You were the first. You told me about him, and then I went and got one after that a couple times. I didn't know, and that's what's cool about the Bay Area. Honestly, has been being able to experience the different cultures throughout the entire city. I've lived in the East Bay. I've lived on the peninsula. I've lived in the city for a short period of time, and just seeing all the different cultures. The Bay Area is obviously one of the most beautiful places, not just in the country, but in the world. And I haven't taken any of it for granted. So I'm just so appreciative of how people have embraced me here. I'm going to miss it so much. This was not an easy decision for us. It really wasn't. But I'm from Alabama. My husband is from Mississippi. And so to be able to get within driving distances of our families was really important to us, especially as our parents get older. They've never really seen our kids play sports, like this, because we're so far away. And so it just made way too much sense for us. An opportunity presented itself. And that's how it all culminated. But I'm just, honestly, I leave here with so much gratitude. And when I can't sit and think about it for too long because then I start crying. It's
Nothing
not
wrong
good.
with
If you
that,
see me
Laura.
like at the grocery store bawling, you'll know why. It really, like, it's overwhelming. It really is overwhelming at times when I take a moment to really think about it. So I've done that plenty and I'm going to do it plenty more, but I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful to you and how you've treated me from day one. Again, you don't have to welcome the new girl from Alabama in the way that you did. And you guys, I didn't ever get to go to Candlestick. I didn't have a lot of these classic Bay Area experiences that so many people here have. And I got to live them through you guys, listening to the stories intently. Let me tell you, when people tell those stories, I'm listening for the details to try and get the feeling of what it was like to be there. So just a true appreciation for the love of sports in this town. And all the teams, I mean, the teams are unbelievable. You just get to cover these world-class teams, and I don't know, I'm getting all sappy, so I'll stop. But
Well, Laura, you've been a
it's
special
been so
friend. You've
fun.
been a great host to the Bay Area fans of all different sports. We're going to miss you, no question about it. But again, you're moving on with your life. You have a great family, and all we can do is congratulate you. And I know we'll see you down the road.
I know. We'll be back for sure. I'm definitely going to come back and visit. And you got to keep sending me pictures of those cute dogs.
That was Laura Britt on the KNBR warm-up show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey keeps the postgame rolling live right here.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
All right, back on KNBR and a late night extra innings show on a Saturday. We'll miss Laura Brett, a great friend of mine for many years. She did an outstanding job at NBC Bay Area. On to Atlanta, Georgia. She really doesn't know what she's going to jump into, but wants to be close to family. She's got a great family, 3 beautiful kids, and they're all growing up. So she wants to be close to her parents as well as her husband's parents, and all we can say is good luck to her. She was a great friend. All right, coming up next, Bill Madlock, a good friend of mine, and boy, oh boy, he could hit. I still think he should be in the Hall of Fame. 15 years in the big leagues. He's got a lifetime batting average of .305. 2008 hits. 4-time batting champion. Played with the Giants 77, 78, 79. Then he got traded to the Pittsburgh Pirates, where he won a World Series in 1979 with the Willie Stargells, the Dave Parkers, Bill Robinson, a 3-time All-Star. And we really sat down and I called him, and I wanted to talk about what were some of the things the Giants weren't doing right. How do they get more walks? Runners in scoring position. What's the approach going the opposite way? And I brought these up, and he really explained it a little bit better from the hitting side. And man, I hit him with a lot of different questions about this offense. And it was a good opening mind of listening to one of the greatest hitters I ever faced and one of the greatest hitters that was in the National League. So sit back and listen to what Bill Madlock talks about with this offense, and maybe we'll get a glimpse of something that the Giants can change. Bill Madlock and I sit down next on the Extra Inning Postgame Show right here on KMER.
Bill is back.
Fired it up, bringing it, all excited.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Listen on your Google Home smart speaker by saying play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Post-Game Show with Bill Laskey. I'm honored to have a guest on, a good friend of mine. He played 15 years in Major League Baseball, a 3-time National League All-Star, a World Series champion with the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1979, and this statistic tells it all, a 4-time National League batting champion. Let's bring on Bill Madlock. Bill, how are you today?
All right, I'm doing really good, Bill. How's everything in San Francisco?
Good. We miss you, of course, here. And, of course, you watch the Giants daily, and I pretty much analyze them daily. And the biggest problem right now, Bill, is the entire team is in a funk. The whole batting lineup, 1 through 9. Not many people are hitting the ball that well. What happens to a team like that? What can you tell about each teammate, and how can you change this?
Well, it's hard to change because we went through that in Pittsburgh. We had the best pitching staff in the league, but was last in hitting. You know, everybody just try to do too much. They try to hit a 3-run homer with nobody on base. You know it's easier said than done. What you know, you know that you just got to stay within yourself. You know, don't try to do too much. Don't blame your teammates, and go out there and do what you've been doing your whole career. You know, have some fun and try to enjoy the game.
Well, Bill, you come out of spring training and you're working on things, going the opposite way, pulling the ball, you do the hit and runs, you do all the things that getting ready for the season. But once the season gets going, everything turns stale. And you got to change your mindset on it. You got to kind of get your swing path going. Timing is all the biggest problem. And, of course, weather. How did you maintain that coming out of spring and kind of jumping into the season?
It was tough, because, the pitchers are not wrapped up like they do during the season. You're facing guys that you're not going to face during the season. And all of a sudden, you're facing the best pitchers on each staff. You have to change with the weather. You can't blame the weather. I know with a lot of Latin players, they say they'll get going when it get warm, and sometimes they never get going. But it just, you can't make excuses. You just got to go out there and work hard, put in that extra work, and I think sometimes now they give these kids way too much information. They're in the film room, looking at it after every pitch. They got that board on the bench, and they go up there and do the same thing. Just put it to the side and do what you've been doing your whole life. Don't think about it, just react to it.
Bill, you were a 4-time batting champ. And one of the things that I always talk about is you watched a lot of pitches. You didn't jump on that first pitch all the time. Once again, a statistic from the Giants, they're last in walks. How do you change that mentality for a hitter?
Well, you know what it is. They're afraid to get 2 strikes. That's the whole thing. They just want get up there and start swinging. You just have to be patient. And like I said, about hitting. It's so hard to do anyway, you just have to, because most of those guys, like Devers, Chapman, all those guys in the second base, they've been hitting all their life, and all of a sudden you just get in a funk, and just keep, just like a snowball rolling down a hill, just keep on getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Do you change your approach in batting practice? Do you change a different style that you do in batting practice to maybe see the ball a little bit more, go the opposite way? Because you went the opposite way a lot. And I always talk about it on this show that you got to watch the ball into the zone a little bit more. And these guys jump so much.
Well, they don't worry about going the other way. Like we talked about it before, They get 1 strike, they swing hard. And then if they get 2 strikes, they swing harder. Because, I tell my hitters my young hitters, go to batting practice and watch the good hitters. Watch guys who's a good hitter. They're going to go to the opposite field. That means they're watching the ball a little longer.
Right.
And they're, not trying to hit the ball out the ballpark. When you, say you try to make it up with 1 swing, if you 0 for 1, if you hit a home run, you still 1 for 2. And it don't make up for when you didn't get hit that time up. And I think that's what they got to do. they got to start going to opposite field. These kids are big and strong now. They can go anywhere now, go out of the park anywhere now.
That voice you hear in the extra inning postgame show, my good friend Bill Madlock, and of course I faced him many times. And the biggest thing is you couldn't go after you with two straight pitches in a row. You were watching it, you were dissecting what the pitcher threw, and I think that's sometimes I watch these hitters, and a couple guys will miss the ball right down the middle, and then they'll swing out of the zone. What are they thinking about right then, Bill?
All that information they get, they're thinking about, what this pitcher going to throw in this situation. And I don't know who I was listening to, and they said they've never seen so many hitters take fastballs right down the middle of the plate now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the biggest thing. They overthinking their at bat. They like you say, the information is. Information only good for you if you're good.
Right.
Sometimes you just gotta go up there and do what you've been doing your whole career. Because I go into these locker rooms. They got so much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
To think about. They got cameras coming from 100 different directions showing what you're doing. They basically look what you're doing wrong. It's very similar to what you're doing right, and I think that's one of the problems. Way too much information. You get the hitters to think. You don't have time to think by the time that ball let loose of the pitcher's hand and get to you.
Well, Bill, now they have the automated ball and strike, and each hitter gets an opportunity. If the ball's out of the zone or in the zone, you can contest it. I think it shrinks the strike zone down. I really do. I think the pitcher is now trying to pinch a little bit more, or maybe the hitter's pinching their eyesight too. I think sometimes it affects both of them. How do you think, as a hitter like you did in caliber hitter, do you like this ABS?
Yes and no. Because some umpires we know it's just bad.
Right,
They
right.
miss it too much. But when a ball is a fraction of an inch off the plate, I know they change it over, but you should be swinging anyway.
Yeah.
You should be swinging. I don't. Sometimes it might make the umpires mad that you keep challenging and they keep losing. And sometimes just ridiculous some of the pitches that these hitters take. Sometimes they come up, being a ball, but they're a fraction of an inch off the plate, up or down, and you should be swinging. Then all of a sudden they're looking for that fraction, and then they take that fastball right down the middle, and they're out.
That voice you hear on the extra inning postgame show, three-time All-Star Bill Madlock. And we talk about teammates. We talk about some of the players in front of you or behind you. Of course, you had Dave Parker behind you. You had Willie Stargell behind you, Willie McCovey, some of the greatest Hall of Famers that hit in the same lineup as you did. And I still believe you belong in the Hall of Fame, Bill.
Thank you.
What do you take from them if they're hitting behind you or in front of you? Are you looking at a certain zone? Are you looking at certain pitches? What is a hitter in the on-deck circle watching at that time?
Well, I'm looking for, when you got guys that you mentioned, like that, little old me, I'm not going to hit 30, 40 home runs. So they don't want to put me on base. Instead of giving up one run, they're giving up 2 runs. And I always call it, you got to be control aggressiveness when you're in up to the plate. And, with those guys behind you, pitchers might pitch you a little different because they don't want to get to them with a man on base.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the good thing about playing in front of those, Billy Williams, all those guys, Big Mac, and Stargell, Parker. These guys were huge. When they look out over there and see those guys, hey, I don't want to face them.
Now, are you more aggressive than Bill? Because, as a pitcher, I'm looking in the on-deck circle. I know who's in this lineup. And are you being a little bit more going after that pitch? Because, as a pitcher, I'm thinking about the on-deck hitter, and I got to get you out. But again, I got to try to throw more strikes to you because I know who's coming up behind you. Did that help you at all?
That helped me, because, just like, for instance, I know Kent, he used to, complain about, people say, but he had Bond behind me.
Right.
I mean, who would you rather pitch to, Kent or Bonds? That's just common sense. Nothing against Kent ability. He got Hall of Famer too, but Bond is Bond. Starger is Starger. And McCovey is McCovey. You just got to look at it.
Well, the other thing too is RBIs. We've talked about this several times in our conversations, and most of the time it starts in that on deck circle, knowing what's coming up in front of you, how many guys are on, how many outs there are, and it plays in your mind on what's next for you as a hitter. Just like as a pitcher, how am I going to get this guy out? How am I going to get this next guy out? So it does play back and forth. But as a hitter, are you watching what the scenario is in that on deck circle? And what are your thoughts going into the box with those guys on base?
Well, I see right now, like I say, when since the base is loaded, I'm worrying about getting that runner in from third. These guys are worried about getting themselves in. and they overswing, instead of just getting that runner in third, they want to get all 3 or 4 runners in. The most important runner is the runner on third base or second base. And they swing different, like say they won't, they leave and they won't go to the opposite field. They won't hit that easy little ground ball, because I talked to, I think it was Willie Mays one time. I said, how many RBIs did you get without getting a hit? That's that ground, without getting a hit, sacrifice. You don't see sacrifice fly hardly. You don't see ground balls. These guys, so many strikeouts with runners on third base with less than 2 outs.
That's the key, though, don't you think, as a hitter? You have to know the situation, and you have to put yourself in a position to, if I have to need a fly ball, runner on third, less than 2 outs, I have to get that guy in. And we used to always say, that's a money hit. That's a money RBI, because that's where all the money is RBIs.
Yeah, ribeye steaks.
But is that true as a hitter? I mean, that's what you got to come up to each at bat thinking, correct?
Yeah, you got to think that way, and I see these guys working. They don't think about anything but just swinging as hard as they can. You get the good hitters, they're going to do what they do, but like I said, you don't see when we seen the hitters hit 330 with 40 home runs and 130 RBIs. Maybe you see one guy, Judge or somebody like that, do it. Ohtani, do it like, but you don't see these because those guys don't pick up those easy RBIs.
Right.
They don't pick up. We call it easy out. That's a ground ball to shortstop. That's a ground ball to second base. Yeah, that's RBI. Right there. But you don't see that anymore.
Yeah. Mad Dog, Bill Madlock joining me for a few more minutes. Let's get into a couple things that happened this past year. 2 good friends of yours, Phil Gardner and Dave Parker, passed away, both very close to you. Tell me a little bit about both of them.
But we always talk about Dave Parker. Dave Parker was Dave Parker, and he'll let you know how good he is, and he'll tell you what he's going to do in the dugout, and he'll tell you what you're going to do in the clubhouse, and he went out and did it. He was just a fantastic teammate. He kept the clubhouse going. Phil Gardner, like I said, you look at him. We call it strap iron. He didn't have the ability as some of these other guys, but you always want him on a team because he's going to give you 110% all the time. I think that's what they call it, strap iron. And he fought that, for a long time, just like he played on the field. He was a fighter. He was a fighter, going through the cancer they went through. And he was a great teammate, him and his family.
Well, Bill, in 1979, when the Pittsburgh Pirates won the World Series championship, We Are Family, Sister Sledge was the one that wrote that and sang it. We Are Family was the big song. And, of course, all the little stars on the hat was a big, big plus for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I understand you got to meet her at one time. Is that true?
Yes, after the World Series, they came to Pittsburgh and they brought their whole to the ceremony, and that's good. And they sold a lot more records after that World Series.
I bet.
All in Pittsburgh.
Well, Bill, it's always a great pleasure catching up with you, my friend. You were a tough out for me, and I know you know it, and you were always happy when I came on that mound, too. But at the same time, we had many battles, and I appreciate you once again, my friend, and I will relinquish this. You belong in the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
Oh, thank you very much. You guys have a good game.
All right, that was Bill Matlock on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
The game may be over, but we know you want to talk more ball. So KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey continues.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
We are KNBR 104.5 and 6.8, the sports leader.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Post-Game Show as we close out a Saturday night. The Giants lose tonight 13-3 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. They got a win tomorrow. It's Mother's Day, and they have Tyler Mahle on the hill for the Giants against Bubba Chandler from the Pittsburgh Pirates. First pitch right here on KNBR at 1:05. I want to thank my guests tonight, Laura Britt and Bill Matlock. You can hear those interviews if you missed them on the All KNBR podcast. I want to thank you, Giants fans, for bringing up some great thoughts on the phone calls today. and as well as tomorrow when we do it again on the Extra Inning Postgame Show following the final game of the homestand. I want to thank Kyle Haar for producing the show, and he's been with me since 3 o'clock when we did the warm-up show. Great job by Kyle Haar all day producing the warm-up show, the game, and extra innings. Great job by Kyle. For Bill Laskey, have a great rest of the night. Give your moms a hug tomorrow as Mother's Day is coming on, and we're going to have more right coming up here on KNBR, the sports leader.
It's another great outing for the righty on your home of San Francisco Giants baseball. This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader. is the flagship of Giants baseball. Double play! KNBR and KNBR FM San Francisco, the sports leader. On KNBR 104.5 and 680.
Dave Fleming back here in San Francisco. The Giants and the Pirates. Just a few moments ago, the national anthem, sponsored by El Camino Health, where togethering is the path toward healing.
Here to perform the Star Spangled Banner, please welcome Bay Area up-and-coming singer-songwriter, 16-year-old student from Oakland Tech, Yesenia.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red-glared, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
The national anthem here on this Saturday evening in San Francisco. The Giants and the Pittsburgh Pirates, game 2 of a 3-game series. And the starting lineups for this game are sponsored by the Dolan Law Firm. They live here, they work here, they win here. DolanLawFirm.com. We will start with the Pirates. Even though the Giants won game 1 of the series last night, Pirates have still been playing really well. They're 3 games over 500, 21-18, in the midst of a tough race in the National League Central. Everybody's over 500 in the National League Central here still early in the year, but it is a tough division right now. Neil Cruz will hit leadoff and play center field for the Pirates. Brandon Lau, second baseman, bats second. Brian Reynolds, he's in left field. Reynolds is hitting third. Ryan O'Hearn, the cleanup hitter and right fielder. Nick Gonzalez, he moves to third base for tonight's game and hits fifth. Marcelo Ozuna, DH and sixth-place hitter. Ozuna, who hit his 300th career home run in last night's game. Spencer Horwitz at first base batting seventh. Connor Griffin, the super talented young shortstop, out at short and hitting eighth. And Joey Bart, the former Giant, doing the catching, batting ninth. Pitcher for the Pirates is right-hander Braxton Ashcraft. Ashcraft has really thrown the ball well. 1-2, but with a 3.02 ERA. He's got a curveball. It is a battle of two pitchers with great curveballs. He's got a curveball to match Landon Roop's in terms of nastiness. So Ashcraft, he'll be tough on the Giants tonight. He starts for Pittsburgh. Meanwhile, the Giants trying to get it going. They haven't won back-to-back games since late April, so the Giants trying to make it 2 straight against the Pirates here. Giants are 15-23 overall, 5th place in the National League West. And obviously the big news of the day, Patrick Bailey traded to Cleveland. A guy who's been a mainstay in the Giants lineup for the last several years is no longer with the Giants, and so kind of a new era behind the plate for the Giants, although it's not one of the young guys tonight. We'll get to that spot in the lineup here shortly. Giants lineup looks like this. Jung-Hoo Lee out in right field batting leadoff. Luis Arraez, second baseman, hits second. Elliot Ramos out in left field. He hits third. Rafi Devers at first base. He's the Giants cleanup hitter. Bryce Eldridge back in the lineup batting fifth and starting as the DH. Willie Adames, shortstop, hits sixth. Matt Chapman at third base bats seventh. Drew Gilbert out in center field hitting eighth. And Eric Haas, he's the guy behind the plate tonight, batting ninth for the Giants. The pitcher, of course, is the right-hander Landon Roop, 5-2 with a 3.18 ERA. Last time out wasn't quite as sharp against the Tampa Bay Rays. However, overall, Roop's been one of the very best pitchers for the Giants and one of the best pitchers in the National League so far this year. Roop on the mound against Pittsburgh. Umpires for this game, Jacob Metz is behind home plate. Tom Hanahan at first, Scott Berry, the crew chief, at second, and Manny Gonzalez, the umpire, along the third base line. A message sponsored by Walk Up Personal Injury Law. Justice takes more than a fighter. You need a champion. Visit walkuplaw.com. This copyrighted broadcast, presented by authority of the San Francisco Giants, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the San Francisco Giants. Lots of action on the out-of-town scoreboard, and we'll keep you posted on those games as we go along tonight. But games that are in progress, plenty that have already gone final from earlier today. The final scores from earlier, the A's beat Baltimore in Baltimore 6-2, the final score in that one. All Blue Jays today at home against the Angels. How about this score? 14-1 Toronto. Reds got a win, a much-needed win. They beat the Astros 3-1. Marlins over the Nationals 8-7. Red Sox and Rays got postponed because of rain. They're going to make up that game much later in the season in mid-July. So rainy at Fenway, and they didn't play. The Dodgers and the Braves are getting teed up to start right now. But we've got a ball game on our hands here in San Francisco. Giants and the Pirates. Cruz stands in. Roop ready to go. Here's John Miller.
Dave, thank you. And Roop to the plate. A swinging strike one. A sinker at 95 miles an hour that ran right off the outside part of the plate. O'Neill seemingly sitting on a first pitch fastball, but it ran right out of the zone, the pitch. And here's another one that runs off the outside, this time taken by tall, strong O'Neill Cruz, 6 feet, 7 inches tall. Powerful, fast. Here's the pitch. Changeup. Swinging strike. And it's 1-2. First pitch was thrown at 6:06 p.m., 59 degrees at Oracle Park. Visibility may not be the best for a hitter right now. Now another changeup, swung on and missed. The ball is dropped by Haas. It rolls just behind him. He turns around, picks it up, and throws over to first for the out. No need, though, because Cruz was not running. So one away. Knight starts off with a strikeout by Landon Roop. Here is Brandon Lau. Powerful, left-handed hitting second baseman. He's got 10 home runs already this year. Roop is in the shadows, and so is the hitter. Now here's a sinker that's way off the outside. Ball one. Meanwhile, second base, the middle of the infield, center field, right field, all lit up in the bright sun, and the hitter's backdrop in center, reflecting the sun back into the eyes of the hitter. Now here's a swinging strike. That was a big curveball, and as soon as Lau started to swing, he regretted it and tried to stop his swing. 1 ball, 1 strike. The curve ended up in the dirt and bounced right to the backstop. Now Lau stands back in. He's not a big guy, but he is very powerful. The windup, the pitch, curveball, and that drops neatly in there. Strike 2 call. 1 ball and 2 strikes. The Giants have Roop pitching and Haas catching. And Roop throws. Fastball. He tantalized him with that one. And I said fastball. That was 88 miles an hour, so that was his changeup. So the count is 2-2. Brian Reynolds on deck. Now here's a changeup that's in the dirt, and it's a full count. The Giants around the infield. Devers, Arraez, Adames, and Chapman from first to third. Ramos in left, Gilbert in center, Lee in right. 3-2 pitch, way outside. He tried a curveball and he missed with it. And it just kind of flew out of his hand, never got close to the strike zone, didn't do any curving. Now here is Brian Reynolds. Landon Roop, in his previous start, which was last Saturday, a week ago against Tampa Bay, gave up 4 runs in 4 and a third innings and lost the game 5-1. But he had won 4 straight starts prior to that. Now here is Brian Reynolds, and he takes a sinker for a called strike. Reynolds is a switch hitter, batting left-handed. Each of the first 4 Pirates hitters in the lineup batting left-handed against the right-hander Roop. Lau leads from first. Here's the pitch. There's a bouncer to second, not hit that hard. Charged by Rice. He quickly throws to second in time for the out on Lau. And Lau went in with a kind of a late slide. I think he was a little surprised, as softly as that was hit, that there was actually a play made on him. And he kind of started to tumble into Willie Adames. He did go into a slide, and then he just flipped over, the old kind of barrel roll takeout kind of a slide.
Would have been interesting, actually, if Adames had even attempted a throw. The umpires might have called a double play.
Now here is the cleanup hitter, Ryan O'Hearn, and he takes a sinker for ball one. Yeah, you don't see that kind of thing very often. There was a time when that kind of a slide was outlawed, even before the new rules came into effect. There's a ball way outside. That one just got away from him entirely. So he is now behind in the count, 2-0 to Ryan O'Hearn. O'Hearn, who finished up last year with Baltimore, with San Diego after having been with Baltimore for a few years. 2 down, runner at first, 0-0 game. Roop pitches, curves him, and off the outside. I think Roop kind of had an expectation, maybe a reasonable expectation, that would be called a strike. He seemed a little chagrined that it wasn't. 3-0 pitch, and a sinker is up and away. Wow. So a 4-pitch walk after all of that. And he does have the right-handed hitter, Nick Gonzalez, coming up now.
And both of those last 2 pitches by the StatCast ABS strike zone should have been called strikes. Both of the last 2.
So that was interesting, but no challenges issued. Now the pitch, way inside and low to Nick Gonzalez. That almost hit him.
And they were both very close, just sort of clipping a part of the strike zone. But if the Giants had challenged each of those last 2 in that last at bat, they would have been right.
Now the 1-0 pitch, and that is off the outside. So Jacob Metz showing a little bit of a tight strike zone there. The Giants could have challenged, but they did not. 2-0 the count. 2 men on, 2 men out. The Pirates with a 2-out threat. Here it is. Swing and a ground ball foul right behind the Pirates third base coach, Tony Beasley, and on down the left field line. 2-1. Roop sets, delivers, curveball. That is in for a called strike, and it's 2-2 now. Nick Gonzalez, who last night drew a couple of walks against Robbie Ray, then drove one all the way to the wall in left center. That was a leaping catch by Ramos. Now here is another curveball, strike 3 called, but it's being challenged by Gonzalez.
That's a bad challenge, man. That pitch was right in there.
Caught the first pitch was strike. Batter's out.
Not close. The whole ball was in the animated strike zone, not borderline.
No. So take that, Pirates.
They have 1 left. 2 men stranded. Pirates nothing. Giants coming up on the Liberty Group Protect Your Assets Giants Radio Network.
Hey Giants fans, it's Amy G for UCSF Health. Whether you're a pro in the bigs or the shortstop in a rec league, everyone wants to avoid being on the injured list. At UCSF,
There's nothing like Giants baseball on the radio. You're listening to the Giants Replay on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader. This is Miller and Fleming on KNBR FM and AM, the sports leader.
Jung-Hoo Lee leads off for the Giants. Last of the first, and he takes ball one off the outside from Braxton Ashcraft. Right-hander. Here's the pitch. And that sinker, who a little bit low. Now, this is interesting because the Pirates only have one challenge left. And so they figured that was not the time to use it. 2-0 pitch. Swing and a high fly ball out in the left center, out in the sunshine. And the center fielder, O'Neill Cruz, takes charge and makes the catch. So Lee swinging away on a 2-0 pitch, but just a kind of a high, lazy fly.
And actually, John, the first pitch of that sequence would have been a strike if the Pirates had challenged. And look, I'm not saying that because we're obsessing over every pitch, but it was a very similar location to those ones from Roop that weren't called strikes.
So, and what about the second pitch?
Second pitch was maybe a fraction of an inch low.
There's ball one to Luis Arraez. Left-handed batter from the set. Ashcraft pitches, and he pours one through there for a called strike.
I know it's not many pitches, but that outside corner to a left-handed hitter is very tight right now.
Now the stretch. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss, and he powered one right by him at 98 miles an hour. 98? Did you know that he threw 98 miles an hour?
That's big velocity for him.
Now, time was taken by Arraez. He walked away from home plate onto the grass, and it looked like the umpire said something to him about it. And he promptly ran back onto the dirt surrounding home plate. Now he's in the box. Here's the pitch. Fouled back to the screen. Giants leadoff batter was Jung-Hoo Lee, the leadoff batter. When you've been injured in an auto accident, you don't just need an attorney. You need a heavy hitter. Contact Ayala, Morgan, and Bazard. 0-0 game. One out, nobody on. The 1-2 pitch. Down and away. Sinker at 98 miles an hour. Man, he gets a lot of movement considering he's thrown it at 98. Ashcraft, 6 feet 5 inches tall, 26 years old. There's a swing. Line drive into left field. Base hit. Threw him a curveball at 86. And Arraez said, "That's the one I've been looking for." First hit of the game. And here comes Elliot Ramos. Ramos had an outstanding night last night with the bat and in the field. Right-handed hitter takes a called strike with a slider. His slider is at 93 miles an hour. This guy, he's a beast. Ramos made a big play in the second inning, throwing out O'Neill Cruz, trying to go to third. Now he takes a called strike two with a curveball, and it's 0-2. He made that leaping catch in the fifth inning on a ball hit by Gonzalez in left center. He also had the hit that gave the Giants the lead they never gave up in the fourth inning, a 2-out hit, no less. Now he swings and he lines one into right center, base hit to second. Arraez, and he'll stop there with the cannon out there possessed by O'Neill Cruz, who fires it all the way through without a bounce to the third baseman, Gonzalez. And so the Giants have 2 men on. That's an 0-2 pitch, and Elliot Ramos ripped a single. That one was a curveball, and not, I think, where Ashcraft wanted to throw it.
One of his hits last night, you were talking about his overall game last night. One of his hits last night came in a 2-strike situation.
Now here is Rafi Devers, left-handed hitter. Swings, and it's a hard ground ball to second. Over to his left to get it is Lau. To second for one. The relay back to first. Double play. Inning over. We head to the second. Each team mounting a threat in the first inning and coming up empty. on the Liberty Group Protect Your Assets Giants Radio Network.
High-performance automobiles, track driving, access to both? Liberty Group and Protect Your Assets invite you to an exclusive automotive event at Porsche's brand.
There's nothing like Giants baseball on the radio. You're listening to the Giants replay on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader. This is Giants baseball on KNBR 104.5 and 680.
And now, inning number 2. And here is Landon Root with a first pitch sinker a little bit low to Marcell Ozuna. Ozuna, 35-year-old slugger, hit a home run last night in his first at bat, right down the left field line. Now he takes a spinner in there for a called strike. A little cut to that one at 87 miles an hour. 1 ball and 1 strike. By the way, we neglected to mention it, or I did anyway. The pitch down, Ozuna takes low and in with a sinker, 2-1. But that home run was a sort of a milestone homer in his career. It was the 300th home run of his career. Now the pitch. Curve down and away. His numbers not strong so far in the early season. Ozuna hitting only 198, but so far in the month of May, much improved. Now here's one that spins over the inside corner. Strike 2 called, and Ozuna is going to challenge that one.
To call it strike.
And I think that they're going to lose their second and final challenge here. You hear the crowd react.
Strike. Pittsburgh is out of challenges.
How do you think the manager, Don Kelly, feels about that? 3-2 the count to Marcell Ozuna. The pitch. Bounces it foul off to the left. And you pointed it out last night, Dave. Excellent low ball hitter. Hit a ball that was down below the strike zone for the home run, as a for instance. In fact, both of his hits last night were balls that were down around his ankles. 3-2 pitch. Curveball grounded foul on the third base side. Still 3-2.
Well, we saw on this last road trip, the Phillies and the Giants, especially in that series, were aggressively challenging early, and it impacted the way those games played out when teams lost their challenges early.
Now the windup. 3-2 pitch. Fouled back to the screen. And he had the emergency stroke going there on a cutter. It was down. That was right at the knees. So Room, he is a guy who likes to keep the ball down, but that's sometimes right where Ozuna likes it. Again, 3-2 pitch. Swing, and he laces one foul down the left field line and caught by the ball dude. Wow, a moment to shine and bask in the glow of wearing the Giants uniform there by the left field line ball dude. Here's a foul off to the right into the crowd. Still 3-2.
Al Ruiz. He's 63 years old.
Stood up and made the catch. 3-2 pitch again. Swing, and there's a high drive into deep left center. Back is Ramos at the warning track, and it's high off the wall. The carom is played by the center fielder, who Gilbert came over to back up, and into second with a double is Ozuna. And guess where that pitch was? That was down and in. And again, a pitch down, and again, he just destroys it.
Yeah, Giants are lucky that one didn't go over the wall. What an at-bat. The 11th pitch of the at-bat.
Now here is Spencer Horwitz, left-handed hitter. And he takes a sinker up and away for ball one.
Maybe Roop's thrown 33 pitches in this game, and this is the 7th hitter of the game.
He walked 2 in the first inning.